Some of you who follow along closely might recognize this staircase. This was my first shop built staircase. I recently built it in my shop and I didn't say anything about it on Instagram or YouTube, but I had my biggest screw up that I think I've ever had on this staircase. So let me set the scene for you a little bit. It was right before drywall stage. I had about 2 days to get in here and get this staircase installed. I had spent quite a bit of time in my shop building these 4 staircase units. It's a double stacked U-shaped staircase. So it was finally time to install these, and I had them loaded up in my van, and I was a little nervous about how I was going to be able to get them inside all by myself since they were big and heavy, but I was pretty confident that I could do it. So everything was going pretty good. Backed my van up to the garage, slid them out onto the dollies, rolled the dollies up to the step, a little bit of a lift, and then I just carefully rolled them across the floor. And I was pretty proud of how easily everything went, getting the staircases up to the opening here to drop them in place. So I had the staircase units inside here and I was getting ready to drop them on the opening. I went upstairs and I lagged my winch to the floor upstairs, got my cable down, got everything set up for the lift. And I was feeling pretty good about how things were gonna go. So I carefully strapped up the first staircase, got the winch cable nice and taut, moment of truth, time to lift that baby in place. So hit the button on the remote. I dropped the first one down, which is directly underneath me. It went all the way down to the basement and it was pretty easy. Just dropped in place, fit just like it was supposed to. Got to unit number 2, lifted, which is this one right over here. Lifted that guy up, dropped him in place again. It was just as easy as could be. Everything was going exactly according to plan. Well, so then I got to this unit that I'm sitting on right now, and it was definitely the most difficult one to build in the shop because I had this wall right here that I had to notch the staircase around, and I had that wall up there that I had to notch around. So it was already a doozy anyways. So at this point, I'm thinking, I got this. I mean, and that is a bad place to be as a carpenter when you're doing something for the first time and it's a pretty complicated task. Overconfidence is a bad thing, but that's where I was at. So I lift this guy up with the winch, and it was a little tricky. I had to kind of finagle it to get it around this wall, and it just didn't quite want to go in like I thought. So with a little bit of finagling, I was able to get it around this wall here and made contact up top. And I obviously kept a little bit of tension on the winch because you don't want something to fall down or anything since it wasn't fastened yet. But I walk around over here to the corner and I look at the staircase, and it's literally just suspended in the air. So at this point, as I looked at this thing hanging, it was like you dropped a pallet of bricks on top of me. I mean, my gut just sank because I had so much time trying to build these things, like to screw it up was just disastrous. All of the worst thoughts just start to cross your mind. Like, you can picture the homeowner walking in any second, who I hadn't really met or known yet, and asking like, what in the world is this? The builder put a lot of confidence in me to build this. We don't typically do shop built staircases in my area. So whenever I proposed the idea, he obviously had a lot of confidence in me just to say, yeah, do it. Well, jacked it up. And then, you know, the thoughts of scheduling. I have drywallers starting in a couple days and this thing doesn't fit. It was dreadful making 30 some oak treads from scratch in my shop. I never wanted to see a white oak tread again. You know, I obviously wasn't gonna be able to salvage them if I had to rebuild this thing. So there was material costs, labor costs, all this stuff. And you just have to take a step back, take a deep breath, evaluate the situation, and try and start to come up with a solution. So let me back up just a little bit. What actually happened? Now, this was my first shop-built staircase, and there was no way I was gonna do that much work just to make a stupid error, which a half inch or an inch is huge on a pre-built staircase. You cannot make mistakes. So I drafted this whole staircase in SketchUp, and I had it all dialed in with all my landing heights. I had flooring thicknesses accounted for. It should have been perfect. But somehow in that SketchUp model, the way I had it modeled, I could not see that the floor joist ended right here. It just didn't show up the way I had it drawn in my model. So I didn't pick up the mistake until I was here on site and had it short of the actual joist. So I had to come up with a solution. What I ended up having to do was pack out the landing, the thicknesses of 2 joists. So what I did was I added 3 inches to that landing. Now the landing was obviously already framed, and I was attempting to install my stairs as the landings were already framed, because I gave the framer the measurements for how I wanted the landings to be, and I gave the framer the exact measurements on where I wanted the landing heights to be. That way all my rises would be perfect. But I couldn't change the depth of my runs on my treads because they all had to match. So the only option was to bring this whole thing this way. And for some reason, as I'm explaining this, it sounds a lot simpler, but believe me, at the time, it was nerve-wracking. So all I did was I added 2, I think they were 2x10s across that landing, which brought the whole thing this way. Then I had to notch a little bit more out on this side here that came into this wall. And then up there on that little wall, I simply added 2 more 2x4s to bring that out 3 inches. So everything was fine. I don't know why, as I stand here and explain all of this to you, it sounds so anticlimactic to just add a couple 2x to the landing. But at the time, it was so much bigger of a deal. It was weeks of work in the shop building this. Was it gonna work? Wasn't it? Was somebody gonna discover my mistake? Was the homeowner gonna lose confidence in me as a subcontractor if he saw this right off the bat before the biggest trim job that I've done solo? You know, what was the builder gonna think if the builder saw the mistake? So I decided I kept my mouth shut. I handled it, I fixed it, but I knew in my head I wanted to make a video of this as I got to the end of the job, just to show you the struggle that was there. I think a lot of times we see other people and we see their successes, and we don't typically broadcast our failures or our struggles. And this one was a huge deal for me personally. It was incredibly stressful. I was under a time crunch, and it was just a bad deal. The funny thing is, looking back on it, it was a Saturday when I was dropping these in. I made the mistake. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have a solution. And part of it was, I think I was just so stressed, I couldn't think clearly. So I remember that Saturday, I was like, I don't know. I got to figure it out, but I don't know. So what I did was there was some OSB here, and I put a sheet of OSB across the front to make it look like I was trying to keep people out. And I put a sheet of OSB across this side. That way nobody could see that the staircase was suspended over nothing, and it was just hanging. I left the winch up there. It was just hanging by the winch. And that night I thought about it, but I remember I never work Sundays. I don't have a memory of ever coming to a job site and doing work on a Sunday, but I knew I had to get this taken care of before somebody saw it. So told my wife, I said, I got to go in tomorrow. I had a plan in my head to grab some lumber, and didn't go to church. I'm a Sunday school teacher, called, got a sub for Sunday school, came out here and just went to town, furred the thing out, made the cuts I needed to, was able to get it dropped into place. And then the next thing was I needed to get framing underneath the stairs so it actually looked like it was supposed to. The other problem I had was, even though I was able to bring the staircase out far enough that the front of my riser was sitting on the subfloor, I had cut my skirt board here across on the flat. So it looked absolutely horrible. It didn't look right at all. So I actually scabbed on another piece of poplar, and the crazy thing is, I kid you not, you can see nothing right now of this triangle piece that I had to add on to that. No one would ever know if I wasn't confessing right now. So I was able to get the framing installed on the underside of the stairs and make it all look like it was supposed to look on that Sunday, and no one ever knew. It looks like everything was how it was supposed to be. Obviously, there's no structural issues. The framing material that I added underneath here took care of that, and I added a ton of blocking up there to make it all look like it was supposed to look. So the moral of the story is, we make mistakes. I'm big on preparation. Whenever I'm gonna do something new that's gonna be a new skill set, a new project, I try and learn everything I can about that to be as prepared as possible before I actually attempt it. And I did a lot of preparation before I built these staircases. I got advice from really smart people who have built a lot of stairs, and I thought I was pretty well prepared, but one minor thing really threw me off. But it's like everyone says, you know, it's not, how does it even go? Anyways, I forget the cliche, but it's about how you fix your mistakes. It's not about not making the mistakes. It's about your ability to fix your mistakes so that no one ever knows they happened. That is what carpentry is all about. So this was a really fun one. I learned a ton. I cannot express to you how relieved I was to have these things installed, to get all the protection on top of them and just get out of here. I was so done with these stairs at the time, but being at the end of this project now, it's awesome just to see everything all finished and how it came together. Definitely super happy with it. And the homeowner has a furniture grade staircase installed in his house, and definitely something I'm proud of. So since I told you my dirty little secret, you tell me yours. What's your worst screw up that you've ever made that you've had to try to fix? Hopefully fix successfully, or maybe not successfully. Either way, let me know. Drop a comment down below. We'll have a little group therapy down in the comment section. We certainly need it to realize that we're not all perfect and we do make mistakes. So hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.